And I'm calling this regular meeting of the Carrabelle City Commission in session. And it's Thursday, May the 4th, 2023, 6 p.m. And this meeting is being conducted in the Carrabelle City Hall chambers. We'll have the prayer first, and then we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand. Our Father, we thank you for being with us here in this meeting place this evening. We thank you for the ability to have discussion and to make decisions for the future of Carrabelle and its citizens. Father, please be with us in wisdom and understanding. Please help us to be prudent in every decision we make this evening. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, and welcome everyone. I'm glad to see you here. Thank you for silencing your phones, and if you would like to speak during public comment or during the discussion portion of an agenda item, please complete a speaker card and let our city clerk, Ms. Keisha, have that card. We will have a one-time visit to the podium each time for a maximum of 3 minutes. I may allow a little extra depending on the time frame, how that's going. And please no outburst from your seats because we will ask you to be removed if you do. Right now, we need to entertain an agenda amendment, and we need a motion to amend the agenda to add proclamation number 2-2023 under the public hearing section of this meeting, and to remove item 1 under no business. Do we have a motion for this agenda amendment?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, that motion to amend, Ms. Keisha, is by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Walden. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, next we have the consent agenda for April 6, 2023 City Commission regular meeting minutes, and then the attorney's invoices for March. Would someone like to entertain a motion for that, if everyone's had the opportunity to read the minutes and the invoices?
I'll motion to approve.
All right. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, and we have that motion, Ms. Keisha, by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Gray. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Next, we're up to the public comment portion of this meeting. So if anyone has something they'd like to speak on that is not on our agenda this evening, now is the time. You have no cards? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to the next portion of our meeting, which is the commissioners' reports. And Commissioner Walden?
I have nothing tonight.
Okay, Commissioner Brown?
I have none.
All right. Commissioner Gray? All right, and Mayor LaPaz, I have a good bit, so I'm going to make up for all of them. I had a very busy month. On April the 13th, I attended the design kickoff meeting hosted by Kimberly Horn Engineering for the Carrabelle Airport Taxiway B and Hangar apron design, and Mr. Sullivan has reported on this meeting in his monthly Aviation Advisory Board report, and I believe he's going to speak under that report this evening. Then on April the 19th, Courtney and I attended the Trump Task Force meeting with Commissioner Jones, Mayor Ash, and representatives from Franklin County and the city of Apalachicola. The Triumph Gulf Coast staff in attendance were Susan Skelton, the executive director, Rick Harper, the economic advisor, Corey Henderson, the program administrator, and one board of directors member, Leslie Weiss of Crawfordville. She's president of Hydra Engineering and Construction there in Crawfordville and is one of the newest members of the Triumph Gulf Coast, I believe. That meeting lasted over 2 hours, and we reviewed potential funding options for the 3 government agencies. Since we had been denied funding in the past, and the city of Carrabelle had submitted 4 different projects in the past, and has Appalachia and Franklin County, we were seeking help from that Triumph staff to understand what Triumph might fund so that we can develop either individual qualifying projects from each of the individual agencies or a combination project from all of the agencies that would benefit the entire county and the 2 cities. I'll let you know, most people do know that Triumph is all about long-term substantial job creation. That's what their funding is for, and they stick to that. The staff talked about development of training centers here in Franklin County and the cities for adult education, hospitality industry, aviation mechanics and repairs, marine mechanics, and ecotourism. They recommended that we contact Space Florida, even for the Carrabelle Airport, for drone training at this airport. And they said that Space Florida had been to the Carrabelle Airport already doing some maneuvers for something, and also at the Appalachia Regional. Trump can fund, also they can fund equipment for emergency response and recovery, such as a comprehensive radio system for law enforcement, EMS and fire departments. They just funded an $11 million comprehensive radio system for Wakulla. They talked about SCADA alert systems for water and sewer systems, airport fuel tanks, and infrastructure for development of industrial parks. Proposed projects must demonstrate that they can produce a long-term economic impact. The Triumph staff was really excited about the Apalachicola Regional and the Carrabelle airports and the Apalachicola Working Waterfront, and they said that we should begin by concentrating on those 3 areas. They were impressed with the past 2 FDOT economic reports, economic impact studies for the Carrabelle Airport. I brought those 2 studies, and when I presented that to Mr. Harper, the economic advisor, the 2017 data, the report that had 2017 data that showed Carrabelle had a $666,000 economic impact to the community versus the most recent report using 2021 data that showed that now the Carrabelle Airport has a $3.2 million economic impact to the Carrabelle community. He was very impressed, as were all the other staff members. And they said that that is the #1 area that we should concentrate on for response, emergency response and recovery, and economic, an area that we have that definitely provides economic impact to the Carrabelle community. They said that there were several amendments up on the legislative session this year that govern the statute that governs the Triumph, how it can be organized and how it allocates funds, and that we should plan a meeting again after session closes, which I believe is going to be tomorrow, and wait to see if they've made any amendments to the statute and see what those amendments are, and then we'll meet again and see if they can help us with anything and give us some better ideas on what we can qualify for. So Ms. Skelton, the executive director, is on top of everything. She knows every building in Franklin County, even whether it's got a 2-story and whether that 2nd story is occupied or not. So I'm talking about commercial buildings. And she closed the meeting by saying that we should all try to develop projects specific to our agencies, but that we all need these 3 agencies. We need to continue to work together and to support each other. She said that's what they want to see. They want to see us supporting each other. So following that 2nd meeting, we haven't scheduled it yet with the Triumph representatives, then I'll come back and request a workshop here with this board and report back again. I'll give you a detailed report, And I'll want ideas from each commissioner, and I give you this long report today so that you can understand what they're looking for, and we'll see if we can come up with some projects that we can present to them again. And then on April the 24th, I met with Mr. Chester Butler, and I participated in a working lunch with the 2 Northwest Florida Water Management District representatives who are participating in the SUNS project. I did pay for my own lunch, by the way. And these are the same 2 Water Management District representatives that Courtney and I met with on December the 6th, Mr. Darrell Boudreau and Mr. John Crow. And back on December the 6th, they suggested that the city apply for a Water Management District alternative water supply grant to provide sewer to the 385 residences now on septic in Lanark, which the city has done, and that will produce an alternative water supply, reuse water. But anyway, they continue to look at the city for a location to develop a public use stormwater park. They are really interested in us getting a stormwater park. So we went down from where we were eating to the Northwest, 1st Street, Northwest Avenue B stormwater facility down there. And they looked and took drone shots, you know, so they could get up and see what was going all around. And they explained that the stormwater outfalls in that area and that vacant land that's behind the cottages there on 2nd Street, Northwest 2nd Street, adjacent to that stormwater facility, is perfect for development of a public use stormwater park, and they're very positive about it. So they're going to take that back to the SUNS Board of Directors, and what we need to do before our next meeting, May the 15th, we need to get in contact with the owner of that land to see if if there's a potential opportunity to purchase that. Then their goal, the SUNS goal, is to strengthen and increase communities' protection from storms and floods. So that's what they're doing. And the Nature Conservancy and the Northwest Florida Water Management District representatives, they're working on this to harden communities that were affected by Hurricane Michael. So also during lunch, we reviewed the city's several water and sewer projects, the stormwater system repairs at the airport, and the possibility of summer camp utility takeover by Carrabelle. And Mr. Boudreau and Mr. Crow were mostly excited and interested in the possibility of Carrabelle providing water and sewer to summer camp. And Mr. Crow requested a copy of the feasibility study that was done way back in 2020. He knew before I sent it to him that it was done a long time ago, and that you did some updates to adjust the cost. And so, but I forwarded him the study. I let Courtney know before I sent that on, and they reviewed it already, and they have already referred the funding potential to their colleagues there at the Water Management District, and the staff at the Water Management District has followed up, and I'm going into all of this because I don't think Mr. Hartman has heard this yet. And they have suggested that the city submit a grant for the interconnections of both the water and sewer, is the way I understand it. So Russell's been kept in the loop, and that's it for me. I want to wish all the moms a happy and wonderful Mother's Day and a happy Memorial Day to everyone as we honor all those who have died in the U.S. wars. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you all for paying attention, and I'll turn it over to the city attorney.
And I have no items other than what's on the agenda.
Oh, good. I took up for you as well. Okay. All right. Ms. Courtney?
All right, did everyone receive their department reports? Have any questions? Okay, moving on. The tree and brush removal from the old water plant property on Avenue C, that is complete. The guy should be coming to start the roof here shortly. The trusses have been ordered, and he's going to come and do the cleanup while he's waiting on the trusses to come in. But the property looks good. It's been cleaned up. The city submitted for an HLMP, which is a Hurricane Loss Mitigation Program grant. We've done these in the past where they come in and they install new windows and doors and hurricane shutters, and we ranked number 13 out of 20 on the list. So Miss Betty Webb does that grant for us, and she felt very good about it, and hopefully we scored high enough, but they'll let us know. We also, this week, we're sending out 193 letters to new customers at the Lighthouse Estates area. We're trying to get ahead of everything and send out these applications so that they can get their accounts set up, and we have them in the system before they get turned on, and we're trying to figure out who has water and sewer. That'd be 193 new accounts. We have the McKissick Beach Access Informational Signage. The sign, we have the sign, I have everything ready, but it hasn't been installed. So it's on Dustin's list, and they'll get to it as soon as they can, but everything's done. We have it here in the office. And then we're also going to ask the TDC for funding for informational signage for the Marine Street boat ramp. The mayor's been working really hard on that, and it looks really good. We have something ready to go, so if they will approve the funding for it, then we'll put up some new signage. We'll take all the small signs that are littered throughout and just have one big sign. And then last, I just want to let you guys know that we have an opening in the water and sewer department. We'll be advertising in-house for a week, as in our policy, and then we'll open it up to the public if we don't have any interest in-house. And that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Hartman, do we need a motion to direct Courtney to advertise in-house for that opening? It's in the policy, and then to advertise in the...
Yes.
Okay, so what it would be, just to make it all in one motion, to advertise in-house for 1 week for the opening, and then to advertise for 1 or 2 weeks in the local?
2 normally.
Okay, so to advertise for 2 weeks in the local paper. So we need a motion for that.
I'll make that.
Okay,
I'll second.
Commissioner Gray, I believe that's your first motion. Congratulations.
Thank
you. Okay, and you're going to second?
I'll take it.
Okay, and that's, you've got it,
Yes.
right? Okay, good. I don't know if I do. So that was by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Brown. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Any opposed? All right, and that motion carries. Okay, we'll move forward then. Anything else?
I have a project that I'm working on, but I'm going to do some more research before I get back with you guys.
Okay. Y'all have any questions for Ms. Courtney?
None.
Okay, great. All right, we'll move on to Ms. Keisha, our city clerk. Okay.
Okay, I got some calendar dates here for you. So May 16th at 1:30 is our CRA meeting. May 18th is a planning and zoning meeting at 2 p.m. It's tentative as of now. I don't know how fast some of this stuff will move forward. May 29th, City Hall will be closed for Memorial Day. And our next commission meeting is June the 1st at 6 p.m. And that's all I have.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Ms. Keisha? All right. Well, thank you. And then we'll move on to Anovia's report.
Thank you. To follow up on the Lighthouse project, the sewer force main out there has passed. All that has passed, and DEP has allowed that to be placed into service. So the sewer main is in service. The contractor is continuing to make connections, individual connections, and grinder installations. On the water, you may recall we had some failed bacteriological tests. Those have been retested and they passed, and those were 4 tests. Those are resubmitted today. So we expect that to pass. I would say within the next week or 2, the water main would be placed into service. So at that point, services can be turned on for residents.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a great milestone. Okay, on our Marine Street project, bids are due 24 May at 2 p.m. here at City Hall. We have started some conceptual layout work on the Carrabelle Cemetery, And Courtney, I should probably get with you in the next week or so, and let's take a look at that layout. Okay. On our Ryan Drive project, we held a pre-application with the Water Management District. And they outlined for us the permitting procedures for that. We've completed the drainage analysis, so that design is complete, and we're preparing the permit applications. On the Avenue C boat ramp, also had a meeting with the Water Management District, and we're in the process of completing that design and preparing the permits for that. On the golf cart crossings, we were directed by the department to obtain permits from DOT Midway Maintenance Office, so we initiated that process, and we'll follow that through until that permit's approved. Okay, and that's all I had for today.
Okay, do we have questions for Mr. Russell? Okay, and so for the permits on the golf cart crossing, that's for the both crossings?
Yes,
So if you've been directed to obtain permits, does that mean that they approved it?
they did. Yes,
Okay,
it
for
passed.
both crossings.
It passed Chipley.
All right, well, very
right.
good. There is another bill before, well, now it's passed the full House and the full Senate regarding golf carts, going to the governor for his signature by October if the governor signs it, it would go into effect October the 1st. Anyone under 18 would have to have a driver's license. If they're 15, then they would need to have a learner's license and someone 21 years or older with them. So if that passes, then I believe we feel sure we would have to amend our ordinance. So then I wanted to ask you about, we had directed for you to do the scope of work for the cemetery. You're still working on that?
Yes,
Okay.
we did start the layout work for that, and we do have a fee proposal for the survey portion of that. I do need to complete that task
Do you
task
want to
order.
bring that then? I thought we might be voting on that today.
I see.
So
Yeah.
to move forward, so we would have an idea of what the scope of work what it's going to
I see.
entail. I believe the CEI, I believe that's what is the engineering fees going to be?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
we can just have an idea. So can you bring
Sure.
that next month?
I can.
Okay.
I can.
All right, and thank you.
All right, thank you.
And at least you've got the conceptual going, so y'all will be
Yes.
working on that. Very good.
Yes.
All right. And then we're working with the Water Management District for funding possibly on summer camp. And we
Yeah.
can talk more behind the scenes about what they had mentioned, how they would
Yeah,
go about
great.
it. Okay. Any other items for Mr. Russell? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I just want to remind you all that back in January, might have been at the February meeting, Russell gave us a cemetery general design criteria, and it lists all the criteria that's required by the state of Florida to develop a cemetery. Is that what that's about? And if you don't have it, get a copy so we'll know what we're up against, but we've got to do it. All right. Next, we have the advisory board reports and the Carrabelle Waterfront Partnership, and I believe Ms. Tamara was going to talk a minute on her elevator project for the Justice Building.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay tonight?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we continued to work through this elevator grant. And so at this point, we have not only, we received the $50,000 grant from the state, and then now we have gone and applied for the $25,000 infrastructure grant to the TDC, Franklin County TDC, to apply to the elevator project. So we have, we're working our way up through this project. It seems like every time we turn around, we have another additional cost that we were not expecting, but sometimes that's just how these projects go. So we're right now, we're looking at the proposed total of 85,250 sum total. And then we have the 50,000 and essentially the 25,000. So the museum has raised in our accounting, we have cash match specifically designated for the elevator in the amount of $8,158. And so we're trying to figure out a lot of these costs that we have in the proposed budget are literally that, they're proposed cost. So it might be that I've got $5,000 down for engineering services. They may be only 4, but they could be 6. You know, that's how those things go. And so we're trying to keep it responsible as far as the best guess. And we did apply for the entire 25,000 from the county. And I think we, according to the best guess I can make from talking to people, we seem like we're lined up pretty well for approval, both by the TDC, hopefully on Wednesday, and also then to have the county commission approve that. So that will add a tremendous relief to the problem. And we have currently advertised in the Tallahassee Democrat for a contractor. We lost the one, we only had one reply the last time, and they withdrew. So we're starting over again. So if you know anybody that might be a good person to be the contractor, let us know. We'd be glad to send them some information about our project. And so I think we finally got the real figures as best we can compute them at this point together. So if we get down to the fact that we need a lot more match, I mean, we're like less than $1,000 off for the match, then we'll probably try having some fundraisers and some kind of a campaign, or write a pathetic letter to Duke. They're pretty susceptible to small projects like that out of their, what he calls his desk drawer funds. So sometimes I can talk him into helping out with that. But
And it's going to be an electric elevator.
It
so
is,
you
and
could-
absolutely.
You'll be using electricity.
totally, and we would put even a sign on it right under where it says George Jackson. We would put Duke Energy. You know, it would be, we would be glad to do that. But we've had an awful lot of members of the community over the past few years donate money to the museum specifically for the elevator. We've kept it very separate from everything else, and we're going to use every bit of it, and then probably a little more to get it done. But it's our hope to have it. Actually, it's our hope to have it done by September.
Okay, all
So
right,
we can just get a contractor.
okay.
Thank
So
you.
the bids for that are due on May 18th, and then we should have a better price because we'll know.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Tamara. Okay, then we will move on to the Carrabelle Aviation Advisory Board. And Mr. Sullivan's going to speak this evening.
Good evening. I just wanted to go over 3 things that are on the report this evening. First of all, I'm going to jump around on these articles here, but the FMU STEM event that we had out there at the airport, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration sent a letter to the Carrabelle Aviation Advisory Board and Carrabelle Flying Club for their participation in the FSU event at the airport. Bruce Graham represented both the airport and the flying club, spending the day at the airport showing his airplane and discussing the general aviation to the students. You should have gotten a copy of the thank you letter, and just wanted to thank Bruce. He's been involved in everything that's been going on at the airport, and he spent the day out there on his own, and they were really appreciative of. The tree removal and stormwater repair system Stormwater system repair. The progress of the stormwater system access and repair has been halted temporarily, as you all know. Valuable time is being lost while the hurricane season approaches, and FDOT funding for the taxiway construction is in jeopardy. The taxiway construction kickoff meeting we had for the first phase of the project of the parallel taxiway, the design should be completed by mid-June, at which time Kimley Horn will present it to the FDOT for funding. The scheduling of the final survey data collection is postponed until the ARP Project 2 bid challenge is resolved. So when we had the kickoff meeting, we agreed to the engineer that we just had maybe 1,000, 1,500 feet to go on the clearing that we were doing, and that was at the beginning of the next phase. Had things continued on as planned, we would have finished the final survey markers out there that they had to do. So I just wanted to bring up the fact that, and I know we all know it, but it jeopardizes, it slows everything down. The mid-June, going back to FDOT for the money, was planned because they make their decisions around that time of where the money goes. And we're not allocated any money for the construction, but that's the ideal time to get it in with the survey, all the data being ready. So just keep that considered. I know Dan is pedaling as fast as he can to get a resolution, so appreciate that. Any questions?
Okay, anything? All right, well, we thank you very much, and you'll be here the rest of the evening in
Yes.
case we need to call on you. Okay, very good.
All right, thank you.
And thank you, I appreciate it. And then, did Mr. Steve Allen send some pictures? Okay, that was Steve Allen sent in some pictures as his update for this month. Okay, so that's the pirate ship that they're constructing out there, replacement playground equipment that was burned back in May of 2015.
It looks awesome.
I guess this is the railing. He didn't give a
Yeah.
description.
He's using copper grounding rods for the metal. It looks really cool with the purple. All right.
Okay, all right. No, I wouldn't, I wouldn't say to do that.
It has been run ashore.
Yeah. All right. Then we'll move on now to our public hearing, and we have item number 1 under that is ordinance 488, and Mr. Hartman, will you read that for us?
Sure, and I'll read these, I'm going to call it out of order. I'm going to read 489 first, so that
Okay.
we act on the land use change first and then the zoning change.
All right.
So ordinance number 489, this is second reading, is an ordinance amending the City of Carrabelle Comprehensive Plan to change the permitted land use of 2.52 acre parcel lying in Section 17, Township 7 South, Range 4 West, Carrabelle, Florida, or Franklin County, Florida, from agricultural to residential, providing for the repeal of any ordinance or parts therefrom in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And this is the same one that came before you last month. It was recommended for approval by P&Z, and it is the piece of property in Baywood that they want to change from agricultural to R5.
Okay, do we have questions for Mr. Hartman or Ms. Keisha on this ordinance here that we're about to entertain a motion on? Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay. Yes, and yes, I was about to call for discussion, so please come forward. Ms. Keisha. And then just let us know your name for the record.
My name is Paige Joseph. I also live in Baywood Estates.
Uh-huh.
We are just asking, or I'm asking, that you consider not to pass this motion. We are a very small little knit subdivision in there. We do not have paved roads. We do not have city water. We do not have city utilities as far as sewer or any of that goes. Our road is private, And we can't afford to keep the roads up in the condition that they're in already. Going forth with this change of the zoning, it's gonna allow 2 more homes to be on our road, and we have no way to sustain it as it is.
Did you come before the P and Z? Did you?
I did not, because I didn't know when it was.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. They're announced they are posted on the website, their meeting dates.
I checked for it, and I even
Okay.
asked some P and Z members, and they told me that it wasn't on the minutes.
Okay. All right. I don't know what to say now. What is this, a 5-acre plot that,
It's a 2.52 acre, so apparently it had been split at some point back in the day, and it's adjacent to some R5, but they're looking to do a single-family home on 2.52 acres.
a one house or 2 houses or what?
My understanding is one house on 2.52 acres, and that is all they own is 2.52 acres, is that right?
Right, they only own the 2.5, so they can't, it's not buildable right now. But if they do, if it is rezoned R5, it is able to be split in half to acre lots, just like all the lots across the street. So that's what she's referring to. It would be able to be split into 2 1-acre tracts.
So there's lots across the street on Baywood that are 1 acre now?
They are zoned for 1 acre, but they're not subdivided, they're mine. It's a 5-acre tract, 4.8 acres of it is buildable, and there's only 1 home on it, and it's all parceled together.
Uh-huh.
So there's no 1-acre lots across from this that are parceled that way. Could they be? Yes, but they're not at this time.
I want to assure you that we have been working diligently. This is a little off the topic, but you did mention the roadway. We are working diligently to find funding to get that road paved out there. And the entire road now was about a $2 million.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, and we broke it into 3 phases and submitted grant applications.
And
for
we
that,
have been submitting.
For all 3 phases.
3 years now in a row. And the city of Carrabelle does not have the funding to do the stormwater repairs that need to be done out there. And even just the areas that that are covered in water during big rain times. So we are working. We have been to the state legislature 1 year recently, about 3 years ago, tried to get funding from them for the FDOT. We are working to get money to get that
Yes, ma'am.
roadway repaired.
We don't have ditches, we don't have utilities, we don't have roads. So like, to continue to keep subdividing these lots that were supposed to be 5-acre home sites just doesn't make sense right now. We can't sustain it.
Now, if it's a 5-acre site now, why can't they use?
It's
use
not,
this?
it was
not.
subdivided previously at
It was
one
sold
time.
illegally. It shouldn't have been ever subdivided and sold like it was, but
It was, and so now it's only 2.52, I believe.
yes,
So if we do this, we could now turn it into 2 home sites.
in agriculture, right.
There's not a 1-acre home site that touches it.
Do we want to send this back to the P and Z and tell me your name again? I'm sorry.
Paige Joseph.
Paige Joseph. And let Ms. Joseph go back to them and,
You do have a first and a second, right? So, and
This-
this is the final,
Yes.
reading on, so it is the second reading, and there is a first and a second on the floor. So we have a motion to approve on the
Thank you
floor.
for reminding
No,
me.
that's fine. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, you still have your options available to you. You would need to vote it down and then make another motion to do something else with it, type thing, if that was where you wanted it to go. But it has been through P and Z, it has been advertised.
It was on P and Z, yes, and it was advertised. I don't know why she was told it wasn't on there, because it was on there. And and the person that told her was in the meeting, so I don't know why that, and it was posted on their property. I put a thing out there in front of their house,
I've
a
seen
sign.
that. I
and-
saw that myself.
The yellow sign is there, but the yellow signs doesn't have a date, time, or anything for the meeting. So like, as calling and asking and not getting answers and then being told that it's not on the minutes, it's kind of hard for somebody to show up when they're not being told the answers.
And it was in the newspaper, and so, I mean, I don't know why she was told that it was not on the agenda.
And like
'cause
the
it was.
agenda with the description doesn't say anything about Baywood either. There's no address, there's no parcel ID, so it's hard to know what it is that's on the agenda itself too.
And the actual, the map is attached to the ordinance.
So we do have a motion you motion to approve? That's what you motion for, and you second. Now, if we think we would want to send it back to the P and Z for another review and Ms. Joseph go and speak, we would have to vote this down. And then we've got the rezoning as well. That's the next one that's up for regarding, we change the land use first, then we do the rezoning. So we have another item
Okay.
regarding the same property.
Right. we can take
So
all
you all
that.
want me to,
Deal with that in a minute.
ready for me to call for a vote?
See how this goes.
You know, we've been discussing this for a while, and you're concerned about that road. We are working on that to get that road fixed.
I understand, and I appreciate it, but, I mean, we've been there
Oh,
almost, yeah,
We know all about it.
yeah.
We've worked hard to get that on one of our top priorities, to get that road fixed. But we usually go along what the planning and zoning recommend, and I wish you knew about it earlier, but
And we almost always go
Yeah.
with their recommendation because they are a volunteer board and they study the land development codes more than we do. That's what that's their expertise
That's who we
supposedly. That's
depend
what they
on.
do. And then we depend on them to do all the review of all the site plans or whatever, and ask all the questions and then to refer to us. So the only thing I know to do is to either we'll do what we normally do, or we can ask them to review it again. So, but I don't know if as long as I've been on board, have we ever sent one back?
not since I've been here.
Yeah, it's not a usual thing, but
Uh-huh.
you're the boss. You all are the bosses here, so.
She's also a Baywood resident.
Do you think that she has come to speak?
I don't know.
We're on the Baywood item. Did you come to speak, Ms. Riley?
Just, I say no, but I'll oppose it.
Okay.
Do I need to speak?
Well, that's up to you. If you do, I'll call you if you want to, let me know and I'll call you to the podium. Okay. Well then,
That's what you call, I wish you would've knew about it.
Because
I do
this is
too.
like the fourth meeting, right?
We've been going through this a while, and nobody's
there,
had a problem.
was there any opposition or anyone attending at the planning and
This was
zoning?
this is the third time at the city commission level, so it's.
Yes.
And 2 times at planning and zoning, 3 times?
And it, I mean, this is up to y'all, don't look at me. I just do, I get the request, I follow
Yes.
through the process, and that's,
It was a regular agenda item, just to see if.
At first,
if we
yes.
were interested in it. At first, it was a regular agenda item now 3 months ago, and then we said we were interested, or we would entertain, let the P and Z, went to P and Z, came back to us. We had the first hearing, we didn't vote on it, but we did have the first hearing for public comment last month, and now we're having the second hearing for the vote. And so, as Commissioner Walton says, we've had this on the public agenda at the commission level for 2 months now. This is the 3rd month.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that, and I do want to know, I do want you to know that it's not lack of effort. I've made phone calls to the city. I've asked questions. I've been told, I don't know, let me check. I'll get back with you. Let me ask Mr. Hartman. I'll call you back. I've spoke to more than just one person at the city. I've asked questions. I've wanted to know things that, well, And a lot of our major concerns is after the fact, what she's going to build, but that's not your concern today now, what she's going to build. So there's been a lot more questions other than just the property, whether it's going to be residential or divided. It's also what she plans to put there. So I don't know if you have the site plans, or if that's even can be considered, what she's going to put there. But there's been a lot of, I've called county, I've called the city and asked, because the things that she's wanting to put there is banned in Franklin County, but not in the city of Carrabelle. So I was told this is a 3-step process that she's gonna have to go through. She's gonna have to do this, she's gonna have to do that. I've called, I've asked questions, I've asked when the meetings are. I was told that she wasn't on the agenda by a P&Z board member. Had more phone calls later to the city that said, when is this going to happen? I have somebody call you back first thing the next morning. The first date that I've been given at a time is today.
Well,
And
you know,
we don't ask what, that is the problem here, because I did get a call from her last week, and that is the problem of what they've had an argument, and what the lady's told her that's gonna be placed there, but I can't consider that or even give that to you because she hasn't applied for a permit. So
She
that,
has applied for septic tank permits with site plans that have been approved, though.
not by the
5
city.
Yeah, for 5 shipping containers to be stacked on top of each other that looks like a motel to be put across the street from our residential house.
From what I'm hearing, she's planning on doing a shipping container home, and the county does have a moratorium on it, but as of now, the city does not have anything like that.
okay, would you just take a seat right there and let Ms. Riley come speak?
We haven't had that come up yet. I know I've got a lot of questions, but the containers do meet the 130-mile-per-hour wind load zone, and we just do the Florida building code. So that could be something we could address, but as of now, it's not, so.
Okay. And just say your name for the record.
I'm Lisa Riley. I live on Baywood.
Okay.
And the only way I knew about this is she had put up, whoever bought the property had put up paper boxes and kind of blocked it off, and there was a sign about this meeting of what was that there was gonna be a development there, and I'm looking around thinking, what's gonna be developed? I didn't even know, just wanting to know about, the properties being sold. I ride down my neighborhood just to see who's coming and going, and, that's how I found it. I just stumbled across it. I didn't even know this was being heard. I didn't even know it had gone into the planning and zoning until y'all just said that. But there are covenants. I just thought that there was rules in place for people to buy a property, to research that from out of state with the intentions of going and changing it. I mean, from my understanding, she bought that property with the intentions, and I don't even know the lady. She lives out of state. But I thought there were rules and regulations in place for
Yes.
covenants with restrictions. So out-of-town developers can't just come in and change everything that's there. And I don't believe the road would sustain extra traffic. There is a lot of traffic. It is a poor road. There's problems with drainage. I don't understand why that's not paved. I don't even know how to get it paved. I've asked. I was told it was $1.5 million to have drainage problems. I just don't believe that our neighborhood would benefit from this development.
Well,
And myself and my husband oppose it.
And, okay. And just before you arrived, we had a fairly, somewhat of a discussion
I
on
just
what
got
we've
off
got.
work, so.
That's fine, and I'm glad to see you. Thank you for coming. And we had a lengthy discussion on what we were doing to try to get the road paved, and
Oh,
we
okay.
can talk later.
Good.
And it's now 2 million with the inflation,
Okay.
but,
Well, I mean,
this
I
is-
see
and the-
dead-end roads being paved, and no one's living there, and I'm like, when are we on the, I've been waiting.
it's because it's such a big project. Now we've broken it up into 3 phases to see if we can get funding and do it a
Okay,
phase at
I'm
a
all for
time.
And do stormwater at the same time.
Yeah, with the drainage. There is a drainage problem also, so.
So I wanted to ask you all and Mr. Hartman about, they have covenances. Now, would the covenances override our ordinances?
This comes up a lot. Keisha, I'm sure she deals with it a lot. The city does not enforce private recorded covenants and restrictions, But that does not mean they're not enforced, right? So,
I
so
would
that
like
would
them to
be,
be enforced too.
We,
whoever
we,
needs-
it wouldn't
we
be us,
don't.
it's civil.
yes, so you would enforce them.
Yeah.
You would have to go civilly sue her to enforce our deed restrictions.
The city doesn't enforce
Yeah, the
them.
city does not, meaning the city, and the works this way, is even if the city gave approval for something, if it's against your covenants and restrictions, you could still stop it. They can't wave around a city permit and say, oh, look, we're allowed to do this now, if their covenants and restrictions do not allow it. But that is up to you, so,
To sue, out of my pocket to enforce it?
or your association,
I
if you
thought,
have a
well,
association.
what is this for?
But we don't enforce your private contract, basically. When you buy into a homeowner association, condo association, that's a private contract between all the owners, and the city is not involved in that.
Even when you buy a building permit, you don't have to
don't.
basically follow whatever covenants is there, is what you're saying?
No, the city follows the Florida Building Code, and we issue a permit according to that. We don't read everybody's different.
Yeah, there's over
covenants and
100
restrictions.
different homeowner associations, so, and they're all
In the
different.
But it's all
so-
filed. It's filed at the courthouse. It's just public record.
But it is that
private.
simple. We do not enforce them. You do.
That's
It's a
private.
contract. When you buy your property, you're buying into that.
The
city's not a
association
party to
does.
it.
We don't have an association.
It's just not active. But our covenants and restrictions,
I don't
our HOA is not active, no. But our covenants and restrictions read that they will be in place unless the HOA is inactive for 20 years. So, and it hasn't been 20 years. So, because it was originally developed in 2005. So we haven't reached the 20-year mark. So our covenants and restrictions are still effective. There's just not a fund to support like a lawsuit. And also with what Ms. Riley was saying about the boxes, and then she just seen a sign and stumbled upon it. It was very confusing as whether that sign belonged on that property or not. Duke Energy had drove across this woman's property because nobody even knew it was buildable or someone owned it. It's been like up for auction forever. And so when they did that, she took cardboard boxes and church signs, politician signs, there was a city sign, all these signs, and lined out her driveway or across the frontage of her property like a fence so that Duke Energy could not go there, as well as big logs. So it was very unclear as to where all of those signs came from. And so that was a big misconception where everybody was looking at it like, well, is that for this, or did she take that off of someone else's property?
Well, this is our options. We can
Yes, sir.
approve this, or we can not approve it and send it back to the.
That's our
We say, talk about it all the
Yes,
time.
sir.
We
I
don't
know
make
it, but we
Understood.
do need to move forward.
So this,
Absolutely.
And I feel like I've given them, sufficient time
I
to
do
speak.
feel your pain in there, though.
Yes, and we understand, and we do understand.
If
So-
we go against planning and zoning, this will be the first time since I've been here we ever done this. So it's just up to these four people sitting here.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
And can I say something?
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
unfortunate that you have an HOA that's, no longer around, and you have all the rules and whatnot, but those aren't city rules,
Absolutely.
so.
But it is the zoning rule that right now it is zoned that way through the city. And in order for it not to continue the way that it is, you guys have to approve for it to change. So that's why I didn't even bring up our covenants and restrictions, because of right now, it's zoned to stay the way that our covenants and restrictions are and the way that we brought those properties and expected it to stay.
Well, I'm going to have to call for a vote because we can't continue like this at this stalemate. Thank you for coming and speaking. You're a good speaker. I appreciate it. And I can tell that you're concerned, and you too, Ms. Riley. Thank you. So we have the motion to approve the land use change, and then we have a second. And with no further discussion, I'm going to call for a vote. Those in favor? Those that oppose? Aye. And that motion carries. And then I would call for a vote, a motion, because we did talk about sending this back to the planning and zoning so that these ladies can go and speak to them. I would like to make a motion. I'll make the motion to send this item back to planning and zoning for a review, a second review. Okay, so that, Mayor LaPaz has made the motion, second by Commissioner Gray. Send back to planning and zoning. It's unusual. And is there any?
Would that be this month?
Whenever they have their next meeting?
Yeah, we should have time.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries to send back to planning and
I'm
zoning.
sorry, who seconded that?
Commissioner Gray.
And that meeting's the
Yeah,
18th
just
at
table
2
the other
PM.
2 PM.
Can we even table it to a date certain?
Okay. All right, now, Commissioner,
Good
Mr.
idea.
Hartman.
Okay, so now we would be dealing with, or we are dealing with ordinance number 488. My recommendation is to send it back to P and Z also. So
Okay.
it'll continue along with the other one.
All right, so I'll just go ahead and make the motion to send the ordinance 488 rezoning back to the planning and zoning. So is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And that motion is by Mayor LaPaz, second by Commissioner Gray. Send this item back to planning and zoning for a reconsideration. All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, thank you, Mr.
I'm sorry,
Hartman.
I missed that second too.
Mr. Gray?
Just gotta speak up there.
Okay.
I'm the closest one to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hartman.
All
Thank you,
right.
commissioners. Thank you, audience, for listening to us while we work on that. All right, so next we have a quasi judicial hearing,
Or
so
the
I'll,
proclamation.
oh, yes, a proclamation, thank you. Would you like to read that, sir?
I will.
Okay.
So this is Proclamation 02-2023, Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of the local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, local governing bodies, and agencies of the government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in educational programs, seminars, workshops, and annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now therefore, I, Brenda LaPaz, Mayor of the City of Carrabelle, do recognize the week of April 30 through May 6, 2023 as Municipal Clerks Week, and I further extend appreciation to our municipal clerk, Ms. Keisha Messer, and to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent.
Okay, and I do declare it Municipal Clerks Week, but I would like to also get our commission to declare it Municipal Works Week, so Clerks Week. And it's Work Week too. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, and that motion is by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Walden. Is there any other discussion? I would like to thank Ms. Keisha for her diligent work and keeping her patience through all of this. She also serves as our building official, not the inspector, but our building permits official. So, and she has a lot of work there and handles our budgets, and I appreciate it. So, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries, and I've signed the proclamation right here.
Thank you.
Okay, these go away. All right.
Got up there.
Next, we'll move to our quasi-judicial hearing, which I will call to order now, and we have item 1, discussion and possible action concerning the preliminary plat for viewpoint of Lake McKissick, Phase 3, and this is requested by Emil Siska.
All right, this item has gone through P and Z. They did recommend approval. What this is there was some unplatted sections of this subdivision noted as the unplatted lands. And right there. And the applicant simply wants to plat that piece of the subdivision. He also wants to include lots 4 and 5 within that unplatted and basically draw a line around the whole thing and replat, there we go, and replat everything inside the red. Russell can speak on this, but this is just preliminary plat, so it'll go back to P and Z for final plat approval and then back to you all for final plat approval. But as you can see, it's already a platted subdivision. You have interior roads, you have stormwater facilities front and back, and drainage easements and that sort of thing. So this property was developed in phases. This is simply the last phase of that development.
All right, and the Planning and Zoning Board?
Recommended approval unanimously.
All right.
With conditions.
With
which
conditions.
was the Russell's review to make sure stormwater, it meets the stormwater requirements, that
Okay.
stormwater is adequate to treat the lots that are being created.
Okay, their facilities or their drainage is adequate to?
Yes.
Okay. All right, do we have any other questions to Mr. Hartman or Mr. Russell? Mr. Large? No? All right, then, are we ready to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the stormwater condition.
All right, and do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and so that motion is to approve the preliminary plat for Viewpoint of Lake McKissick with the stormwater conditions, and that is second by Commissioner Walden. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries, and that's the only item under our quasi-judicial hearing, so we will adjourn that and reconvene our regular commission meeting. And we have under new business, and y'all let me know if you need to have a recess, commissioners. Under new business, we have item 1, discussion and possible action regarding old water and sewer department debt. And this, I know Courtney sent out an email on that today. I hope that everyone got to see that. If you didn't, we'll review that now. But this is the 3rd consecutive year that the city has been written up by the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee. And so as a result, our auditors and staff have recommended to go ahead and write off the inactive accounts. And the recommendation was any accounts that had been inactive for 3 years and longer. And so we had 360 inactive accounts prior to January 1st, 2020. And I don't know if, I know Commissioner Walden was on board, but I can't remember about Commissioner Brown, but we had several findings on our financial statements that had gone on for years, and actually Senator Montfort called me and told me that I was going to, if we didn't take care of those findings, the Legislative Auditing Committee was going to withhold revenue tax sharing, and that I was going to have to go and appear before them and explain why we're not taking care of our auditing findings that are found, reported on the financial statement. So we do need to go ahead and do this 3 years in a row, and then they want you to come appear before them, and I'd rather not do that. So we know the number of accounts and the amount, so do we want to? Okay, go ahead.
I noticed there were some on here that are only 30 days past due and some that are 60 days past due. Will we be excluding those, or what's like the date cutoff for writing these off?
Oh, no.
January 1st, 2020 back.
Ancient.
There's 7 that are 30 days
Well,
and
that was
11.
probably as of January. If you look at the top, it has a date range in the top of it, on the first page.
Oh, I gotcha.
it's
So it's
30
30 days from then?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, that makes sense. Never
And then
mind.
also, you see the latest one on there is 2009, but that's when we changed systems. So they could go back 20 years ago. We don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know how long, how
Yeah,
far
that was
back
just
they
when we
went.
got our new system in 2009, so that's the latest date you'll see on there, but they're probably later than that.
And then, I mean, not right now, but we need to obviously develop some kind of system to do this on a regular yearly basis.
The auditor says all we need to do is print this every year and make a motion to
Okay.
do it.
Okay.
So we just need to do it every year.
And then we could just continue to go back 3 years, so what we would be doing is just doing a year at a time. That's 3 years or older, so. All right, then, we need to make a motion.
I will make a motion to write off the old water and sewer bad debt.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. And that motion is by Commissioner Brown and second by Commissioner Walden. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
Can we turn the air down? It's nearly 80 degrees in here.
Oh, he did turn it down already. Thank you. I saw him go over there and turn it down.
It's hot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It wasn't
Okay.
72, it must have kicked off.
It's up.
It's on now, I think. All right. We have item 2, Mr. Hartman, discussion and possible action regarding a bid protest.
Yes.
Okay.
So what this is regarding, Mr. Sullivan alluded to it during his presentation. Let me give you the quick background. And this item, well, the background is this, that there's a project going on out at the airport. They're moving into the second phase of it. Request for proposals was put out. The city received 2 sealed bids for those. They were opened on April 12th, 2023. The bids were from 2 companies, Crooked Creek Land Development and 3 Rivers. And the 3 Rivers, they both came as sealed bids. The 3 Rivers bid was in the amount of $78,000. The Crooked Creek Land Development bid for the work was in the amount of $180,000. Following the opening on April 12th, the city issued an intent to award the contract to 3 Rivers, and we received on April 14th a letter of intent to protest the bid from Mr. Cox, Dan Cox, an attorney, representing Crooked Creek. And then within the time period, we received the actual bid protest from them. And the way this works is that you follow one of 2 processes. If the city has an adopted bid protest process, then we follow that, but we do not. We haven't had one of these before, so this is new territory for us. And what you do then is you follow, there's a state process under the administrative code. So that's the process that we're starting down. And as part of that process, there's a period of time in which you attempt to resolve the protest. I'm going to call it amicably, just in a friendly fashion. I had a conversation with Mr. Cox after receiving the written bid protest. He requested to be on the agenda to address the commission at the meeting tonight. I do not see him here.
I cannot see.
So all I can do really here is I inquired on the different basis for under the bid protest, which were, to just summarize, were that the existing party was not performing according to the bid specifications, but I did check with staff and Mr. Sullivan in particular to say that they had been performing. There was an allegation of whether or not there was an inability to be able to perform. I contacted the applicant on Three Rivers, and they indicated they had all equipment, anything necessary to perform the work, or access to that equipment if they didn't have it. And then the third item was the issue of, there was, again, 2 sealed bids. They were both sealed. The bid specifications say that you're supposed to sign the seal of the envelope. And Crooked Creek did sign the seal, 3 Rivers did not. Now, they were both sealed, and the reason for signing the seal is typically to ensure that it's really been sealed, hasn't been resealed, that sort of thing, right? But it is, in my opinion, reading cases and this, in the statute, you are allowed, the city has the ability to waive irregularities in it if they're not material. If we don't think, hey, this has caused some sort of unfairness in the process or fraud or something like that. So those are the kind of the facts. Mr. Cox, we had a very informal back and forth conversation. I said, well, you know, there is such a disparity between the two numbers. What do you suggest? I didn't have a suggestion as far as saying, I don't see any, it's difficult would be difficult to justify spending an extra $122,000 for the work, right? He simply indicated, is there an amount of money, basically, that you could pay my client to avoid the cost, the hassle of going through the bid protest, basically.
So.
Did
Can I
he
ask
say
a-
an
And
amount?
it's not, I mean, it's obviously why some people don't like lawyers, but it's an avoided cost of litigation, right?
Did he say an amount? Can you
He
say
did
that
not.
amount?
He
He
did
did not
not.
say an amount.
He did not say a
So
specific amount.
He is asking you if there's an amount that we would pay them to not go
To
through this?
not, to resolve the protest.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to pay him, he was $122,000 more than the next bid.
102.
102, sorry, 100,
Sorry, but he was
180, yeah, 102,
makes
sorry.
sense to me, but that's,
No, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, the reason for providing some of the background, I feel, yeah,
I was like,
I
"Oh,
feel
is that right?"
the city, there are no, that I've seen, there's video of the opening. So
Uh-huh.
the two bids came in, and we have video of them being cut open, and you hear
Right.
the envelope, you know, you hear them being ripped open. It's all videoed, and it was done during kind of our normal process for sealed bid openings. So I would, you know, I mean, usually we could have a shade meeting or something, but it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the bids were very far apart. There wasn't, the only, call it, requirement that wasn't strictly met was the signing on the seal, but that's, because it was a sealed bid, because you can, in my opinion, what I would say is you can hear the knife cutting through the envelope on both, on the
On the top of the
top,
envelope.
yeah.
We're not outing you guys. We're like-
Okay.
And
So,
he was present.
They were
Both
both present?
contractors?
It was open
No,
to
the-
the public, and one of the contractors, Crooked Creek, was present for the
Crooked
meeting.
Creek was present, and
one
Crooked
protested.
Creek saw the envelopes being opened.
Right.
Okay.
And just to understand, the next step would be if we are unable to resolve this, right, through basically the only offer that's kind of on the table, right? So if we say, we're not up for that, then the protester would have to post a bond of $1,800 to cover costs if they're unsuccessful in this protest. They would have to post the bond, and I've been in contact with, and I would get back or not get back, but the Division of Administrative Hearings in Tallahassee, they have hearing officers that hear these things. And we would try to get that done in the next 3 weeks or so to keep everything on track out there. And we would have a hearing officer come down to do a couple-hour hearing. They charge $150 an hour to do those hearings. And they would make a determination of whether or not it's a valid bid protest, whether the bid was invalid or some
Okay,
problem.
all right. So it's not necessarily a lawsuit at this point. It's just, it's a protest.
This is the thing, this is not, I don't want to say a lawsuit, it is a bid protest, so it's its own animal as far as if someone is
Okay.
unhappy with the bid process, they have to have a way to appeal that, right? And that's, due process, say, right? So bid protest procedures, since we don't have them in our ordinance, we follow the statute, and we're on that track now. So we have a proceeding going on now, and this is part of it, trying to resolve it.
So, okay, so no one was awarded the bid, is that correct?
Correct, because you all will award it, but the bid protest, for instance, tonight, normally you all would be on the agenda to award the bid, right? And you would look, and Courtney would tell you just what I told you about the amounts and the bids that were received, and we recommend going with the low bid in this case. But we can't do that because there's a bid protest. So we're hung up, we aren't able to award it until the bid protest is done.
I don't understand why we can't say we reject all bids.
We would have had to do that at that time. So, when I say that is, you would have to do it,
So
if you found both bids, for instance, unresponsive, then you would, or in this case, one issue that came up was there is simply not enough money to pay
Yes,
the
that's
higher
not in
one,
the
right?
budget.
So let's say they both came in high, you
Mm-hmm.
know, where we didn't have the money to pay it, we'd say, all right, we have to reject both, right?
Uh-huh.
But because one of them did come in at what staff said, a reasonable amount, bids were not rejected by the procurement officer, Courtney. So,
So
So
the
we,
soonest is gonna be 3 weeks?
probably, yes.
well, I did look online. I looked at, you know, I had to look at this Florida Department of Administrative Hearings, an officer. And I looked at how many cases they had last year, and they have 75, I believe, judges that do this work. And it looks to me like it'd be 3 years before.
These go on a faster timeline, but it's not,
They only
it's not
heard
good. I mean, I'm
1,500
being
cases.
optimistic. I'm trying to be optimistic, trying to
Okay.
tell Mr. Sullivan what he wants to hear. I mean, I'm trying to keep, we got to keep everything moving here,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But that is also what, when someone protests a bid, that's what they're counting on.
Yeah.
It does hold the work up.
And this is terrible because once all of this stormwater repairs is done, then they're going to resurvey the area that, the area for the construction for the taxiway. Is that correct? And the hangars. And the city's already, the airport's been awarded the money already from the FDOT. And that is talked about in the meeting that Mr. Sullivan and Courtney and I went to with the Kimley Horn Engineering's. They're going to resurvey after the repairs are done. Well, and then after they resurvey, then they're in their design phase of this project for the taxiway. Well, they're not going to do the design until they get the survey. Isn't that correct, Mr. Russell? Okay, so when can they get the survey? They can't get the survey till the repairs are finished, and that's put on hold. Now, when we start putting our projects on hold, then we go into the next FDOT fiscal year in June, and we're not taking the money, and we're lined up for plenty of money and plenty of projects right here. I've got a list here for, I mean, you know, they've got $300,000 for design for the runway, $1,300,000 to construct hangars. I mean, excuse me, 1.3 to construct hangars and $800 to construct the taxiway and $5 million to do the runway reconstruction. All of that to 27. Well, when we start not doing our projects, that money goes back into the pot and they allocate it to other airports. This is, how long can we afford for this to go on? I'm not saying pay.
Right, no,
anybody.
lawyers will mess everything up. So I'm going to try to do my part of it. I'll try to get this resolved as quickly as possible.
If something happens though, like this scenario, who can anyone be held accountable?
To be honest, no. I don't believe that if we're talking about the person protesting, can they be held accountable? I do not believe so.
Yes, Mr. Sullivan.
I just got one suggestion. The big holdup is the first 1 to 2,000 feet that we need to do on the next project. Can we amend the first project to include that 2,000 feet so that we can get that done so the survey can continue?
We cannot, but let me look at what we can do. I don't, just so we don't, I mean, we have to be careful here. We cannot award the bid while a protest is pending. At the same time, there may be options, but I can't tell you what they are right now. I need to hit the books a little bit.
All right, we may have to have a little workshop or a special meeting on this as well, you know,
Get it
just
as
to
soon as possible.
give you all a heads up, okay?
Do we need to vote on anything?
Well, I'm going to ask Mr. Hartman now about that. I'm surprised they're not here because this is on the agenda because Attorney Cox asked for this to be on the agenda, and he hasn't contacted any. Mr. Cox asked for this to be on the agenda,
He did.
correct?
During our conversation, he
Okay.
wanted to
All right.
present his position to the commission.
Is there any action that needs to be taken at this time by this board?
There's not.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So we just waiting on this board to hear this?
Yes, what I'll do is I will contact Mr. Cox tomorrow.
Yeah.
I will tell him that we were unable to resolve it at the commission meeting and that his client needs to post the bond, and I'm going to contact DOA and I'll.
What
we'll try to
about,
get it
we
assessed.
have a
Ashamed of
motion to
themselves.
direct Mr. Hartman to contact and hire the State Department, an official from the State Department of Administrative Hearings for assistance
That-
with the
that's fine.
resolution
That'll
of this bid.
certainly
And
put
I'll
a
send you that wording. Ms.
exclamation
Keisha.
point on it.
Thank you.
And
I'll
go
make the
ahead, I'll
motion.
make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right then, and that motion is by Mayor LaPaz, second by Commissioner Brown, to direct Mr. Hartman to proceed. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh, a little headache.
That gave me a headache. That was unreal.
All right, then we have item 3, discussion of possible action regarding funding assistance to Franklin County for clean out of stormwater drainage system from Highway 67 over to Gray Avenue. And Ms. Courtney, you want to talk to us about that?
I've been talking to Mr. DeWitt Polis with the Franklin County Road Department, and he and Dustin have been working together about the drainage between Highway 67 and Gray Avenue. And it's really overgrown and it really needs to be cleaned out. And so he has contacted a company that does amphibious excavation. They're out of Jacksonville. They would bring their equipment here with the operators and they would clean out that ditchway, which he says really needs it. He says once it's clean, then we'll be able to maintain it, the county and the city. But he said it's just so overgrown that they can't even get in there to do any of it. The price for that is $19,000, and he's asking if the city would be willing to cost share.
And what, a half or what?
I asked him, was they looking for a half? He said, whatever y'all can do. So, but he said, yes, a half would be nice.
It needs to be done, that's for sure.
It
Yes.
does need to be done.
And I did go ahead and look back at, we did a American Rescue Plan Act expense to budget on February the 27th, which is 2 months ago. And we, we have a contingency. There's a reserve for contingency there. And then we also, if you all can remember, I announced that we had some unanticipated interest income. So he wouldn't want more than half, I would think.
No, half. half would
If
be-
you, and we have got stormwater funded. We've got a stormwater that we're doing 2 projects already with stormwater, and then we're doing two city projects, and then we're doing the airport as a separate project, stormwater repairs. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for us to fund some stormwater out of this, if you want to. If you want to make an amount that you would approve to assist with that.
The supervisor right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Come on up, sir. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
Could come this afternoon. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them.
Okay.
Like Courtney said, it's approximately 3,000 feet through that area. And me and Dustin actually went in there a few weeks ago and tried to maneuver through there. After about 100 yards, we had to turn around. And I swore I'd never go back in there again. Get too old for that. Like a bear had caught me. But anyway, I called the company, and because there was some wording in that little bid or what it was, he said remove the beaver dams.
Uh-huh.
And that's not what I had intended. So I called him. He said, oh, no. He said, that's just the way we worded it. But he's coming in off of Tallahassee Street with the equipment. And we'll go all the way through to Gray Avenue. And then he said he would probably go back through to load back up because the banks are so steep off of Gray Avenue. So,
Uh-huh.
and I'm going to try to hitch a ride through there on the way back. So see if it's, the work's been done. Like
Okay.
for our satisfaction.
So, and that's like in the Avenue F at 67 there where it floods, it wants to almost go over the sidewalk and then it's flood, the ditches over there are just full when it
Yeah,
rains.
and we used to clean that about 25 years ago. I started a ditch maintenance program with mosquito control. And we cleaned that and had it opened up for years. Then after Michael came through, there's so much damage. The beavers moved in, and I think Dustin's been pretty diligent on trapping those. But it's just wasn't possible to get back in there.
And
It's literally like a lake.
I know it. It is a lake. I mean, it doesn't drain. It never drains out anymore. It's full. So it does need to be done.
Yeah, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
If we get this done, what are we gonna do about these beavers going back to there damming it up?
Well, me and Dustin talked about that, and what I'm gonna have these guys do is take the debris that they removed and pile it on one side or the other, and hopefully we can go through there then, and after they dig it, maybe Dustin take his little boat and go in there and trap them, finish trap. But he's removed a lot of them. They're still there, but it's something that's gonna be continued, you know, have to continue trapping them.
Yeah.
I don't know, we didn't have this problem, you know, way back then, but
They're multiplying.
they are.
They're everywhere.
So, but we're gonna try, it. If he can get that thing opened up like we
Well,
want
we
it.
appreciate
and,
it, 'cause it needs it bad. We
It
get a
needs it,
hurricane
it's
up
just,
60,
it's one of the main
70,
drainages for
It's
Carrabelle.
gonna flood.
And, we just kinda took it upon ourselves to try to get this done before we have any more storms. So,
And what did you say the full quote is?
it was 19,000 and some change, I don't remember, I
Okay.
didn't bring that with me tonight. But I will get Courtney a copy of it. And that's gonna be and they're from, I'm sorry, Courtney, they're from St. Augustine. But, they will come, we send 2 men, a low board machine and a service truck, and that's for, essentially a week's worth of work, they said, so.
You want to consider half?
Yes,
Okay, all right. We want to have a motion then to fund half this project?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. And that motion to fund half of this project to assist Franklin County to clean out the stormwater drainage system as described by Mr. Dwight. Motion is by Commissioner Walden, second by Commissioner Brown. Is there any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. And thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Dwight,
We'll
for
get it on
coming
the way.
in. We appreciate it. Good to see you. Come back to see us anytime. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you all. All right.
One more.
Okay, we have, next is item 4, discussion of possible action regarding music on Marine Street proposal submitted by Commissioner Brown. So we'll ask Commissioner Brown to give us a little, just a heads up on this, what this is all about, please.
We are the businesses downtown on Marine Street. We've been talking about different ways to bring in tourists and visitors to our area. And we came up with Music on Marine Street. And we feel like this would help all the businesses in our area, not just our little 2 blocks there. But that our goal for this whole thing is just to bring more visitors to the area to support local businesses. And we want to work with as many local businesses as possible on this.
Okay. And I see Miss Danielle is with a big smile on her face. Does that mean something? Okay. Okay. So is that all? I mean, you want to,
Do you want me to just,
I don't know. I mean, you asked, you submitted the
Right, okay.
agenda item, so let us know what's
So-
going on.
we went back and forth on this. We've spent hours and hours planning and thinking about every possible angle and how this would be most beneficial to the city as a whole. And like I said, all the business in the area, we haven't obviously talked to every single business, but if this is approved, we will be reaching out Monday and Tuesday to every business we can possibly get in contact with to see how they would like to be involved with this, whether it's financially or volunteers, just to get as many people involved as possible. And what we're asking from the city is to close the, from Highway 9, on Marine Street, Highway 98 to just before Avenue C. As shown in red on the map here, the green lines would show the different boat ramp detours to still get you to the boat ramp easily on those festival days. And we would ask that the streets be closed from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. so that we could host this event from noon to 6. And we understand that every first and third Saturday is also the Lighthouse Museum's farmers market. I spoke with the director, Steve. and Ava, she runs the gift shop there, and she's also one of my vendors. They were very excited about this. They didn't think it would affect their event whatsoever, that it would bring more people to both events. So that wasn't an issue.
Okay, so you keep saying this. What is this? What is the event? What
Music
is
on
it?
Marine Street.
So it's just music and that's it?
It'll be live music. We will also have vendors, and we would prefer local vendors, but we're not going to restrict people if they want to come in and set up a booth. And we're not going to do any food trucks because we do have 2 restaurants on that street already. But we would have vendors and live music, and it'd be just like a little street fair on Saturdays during the summer through the end of July.
Every Saturday?
Every Saturday.
And you want to close a portion of Marine Street?
2
every
blocks.
And I understand the little festival thing. A lot of cities have festivals every week in designated areas or in park areas. Like the Villages they have a festival every night on their square, but it's not, they don't.
This
They
might be a
don't,
little different.
Yeah, they don't close a street.
We tried to minimize it because it's not going to be huge, but this is the core business district, and we obviously can't cross 98, so that's why we're trying to keep it in that little area.
And so what is I've got a lot of questions, I do.
I figured.
Okay, so what the logistics on this, who's going to come and close? Who's
The
going to?
barricades?
Yes, who's going to do that?
We have barricades, and the businesses on Marine Street will be responsible for coming in the morning and putting the barricades up, and then afterwards taking them down. We've made arrangements for, we're going to have disposable garbage cans, and we've made arrangements of where to dispose of our garbage. We've made arrangements for restrooms.
And are y'all having porta potties?
We are not. Can you
Okay.
pull up the event map, Courtney, please? It's hard to see. I did this as best as I could. I'm not a graphic designer. But the R's are where restrooms are available.
And those are public restrooms that
Well,
are?
3 are in businesses,
Uh-huh.
and 1 is in the visitor center, which is a public restroom.
Okay, all right. And is the visitor center aware then that their restroom would be
I
used?
spoke to Penny,
Uh-huh.
the president of the chamber, regarding that.
Okay, so you wouldn't the city wouldn't have to hire
Nope.
extra cleaning?
Not at
Okay.
all. We're
right.
going to handle the cleaning.
Uh-huh.
The only thing we're asking of the city is literally the street closure.
And then who's going to make sure, if you go to close a street and there's a car that's parked there that maybe, you can't find the owner, how's that going to work?
Well, typically, like for Riverfront Festival, we had a car that was parked in the lot that the event was planning on using. I called the police chief. He found out whose it was. It ended up not being an issue, but that's usually how that's handled. Because
All
they're
right.
able to look up the tag and see who it is and get contact
Okay.
information, things like that.
So you'll be calling on the, possibly, it might not happen, but.
Correct.
Yeah, you'll be calling on the
And I
police
mean, if it's
department for
one
that.
car, we'll work around it.
And then
We're
who's
not
going to
picky.
provide your traffic, pedestrian safety and direction and that kind of thing?
So one of the things that we would like to offer is a golf cart with, to do transportation for people who may be handicapped or disabled that need to get around. So when speaking with the different local businesses, these are things we're going to ask for volunteers for.
But how will that help people, if you're bringing a bunch of people into town, how's that going to help that main intersection right there, golf cart? How will that help pedestrians and such at the Highway 98 Marine Street intersection? Because they're not going to be able to park downtown, they may be parking across the street over
Well,
in
they
front
would, I mean,
of
have to-
Mr. Gray's place, or they're gonna, I don't know how they'll use Avenue B. I don't know how that's gonna work out either, because it's gonna be closed at Avenue B, is that right? You'll have a barricade there at
Correct.
B, so
because
if,
they can't drive on that part of Marine
right,
Street.
so how is that going to affect the visitation at the museum? And then if cars come, if they're driving west on Avenue B, come down at the Marathon or something to get to the museum, or to access the diagonal parking spaces there, they'll have to come down and make a U-turn or make a three-point turn, and
Right.
how's that, is that what you're anticipating?
We haven't worked out every little
Okay.
detail, but that street,
Well-
we didn't want to close it because we didn't know if the museum and whatnot would want to be a part of it, but if they would, maybe we could close that street too.
Are there other businesses there besides the museum?
Right.
They get a lot of Saturday.
We could speak with them.
But
But we weren't planning on having, someone standing at at Highway 98 directing traffic.
Okay, and I just, if you really want it to be what you want it to be, you're gonna have pedestrians, and you're gonna have to have some traffic pedestrian, safety there, but if it, if that's what you're, if you really wanna have, if you make it into what it sounds like you wanna make it into. And then who's gonna help with the rerouting of this, of the traffic? Because now I'll tell you, snapper season starts June 15th, I believe it is, through July the 31st or something, so that's a big weekends. And I know this lady right here proudly stood before me a few months ago and said, you can't make it a one-way street because those anglers, they can't figure out how to get out of there, and it's going to be she said it's going to be a cluster down there at the boat ramp.
So,
Yes, and let me speak. And she said, this lady right here told me that, and now it looks like she's supporting closing Marine Street as you. Now, how are these anglers going to figure their way around? How's that going to work?
so I spoke with emergency.
They were going to be detoured.
You're going to detour them.
I s-
Now you come with a detour.
I spoke with emergency services, and they have agreed to allow us to use their message boards at the IGA in the beginning of town to notify traffic that there are detours on that specified day.
Okay. And who's going to handle the complaints when they come in? Because I know that city staff is going to get complaints on that.
Courtney?
We're gonna,
Put her cell number on the sign.
I think-
That's what she said.
I think that's probably the worst thing is these, your anglers. And what about Just Right Marine? How's that going to work out? Have y'all talked with that?
we are working on getting in touch with him.
Okay, because
I'm working on getting.
that business takes a big hit. They're impacted the most on these festivals, and so now we're going to have every weekend.
Well, can I say something?
Certainly.
If this was a one-time deal on a special holiday, I might say, yeah, I got a lot of concerns about closing that road off, I really do. Because I'm gonna have to listen to the public too. Not just the girls. So, right now, I'm just not for it. I'm just, be honest. Like I say, if it was a one-time deal, maybe, but you talking about.
We're trying to bring lots of
I know you-
business to Carrabelle
Is
all
it any of
summer.
those businesses that might oppose this? If there's just one, we need to know all the businesses on board. If there's just one business was opposed to this, that would be a problem,
There,
so.
I haven't heard of any oppositions on.
So, but I will say that that road, Marine Street, is part of the Big Bend Scenic Byway. And if you look at the Big Bend Scenic Byway, it gives the directions there that Highway 98 and it's the Big Bend Scenic Byway. It's Highway 98 with a route change in Carrabelle at the fork out here to 30A, and it dead ends into Marine Street. And along that way, it goes past the Frog Pond, and it names Riverwalk Park, and it names the Carrabelle History Museum as part of the Big Bend Scenic Byway, and it dead ends into Highway 98 again, and then it heads west. And that is advertised by Explore Northwest Florida. It's advertised by the Florida Big Bend Scenic Byway Coastal Trail. It's advertised by Visit Florida. It's advertised by Franklin County Tourist Development Council and other visitor agencies, the Big Bend Scenic Highway. And I have concerns about closing that Big Bend Scenic Highway every week. I mean, if it was once a month, or even, consider other opposite weekends from the festival that's going out at the lighthouse, something like that, but every weekend, and festivals are difficult to manage. I know Harry's they're accustomed to handling crowds, but when you start having to do this every week, it's a big chore. And I know Commissioner Gray and Commissioner Brown, you weren't here, but you might have went out to the airport fly-in, and I organized that with the help of Mr. Sullivan, and that took us a good 10 to 9 months working every day, 12 hours a day working on that when I wasn't in meetings. And that was a big festival. I don't know how the chamber does it 2 times a year, and then the Carrabelle Crawl. And they're already working on next year's Riverfront Festival, they told us the other day. So to take on a festival every week and then to grow it, and if it does good like you want to do it, you're going to want to expand it. I say that road belongs to the citizens. That road belongs to the people that pay gasoline tax. It belongs to the people that buy their car tags. And to close it off to their access every week is a large request, is the way I feel about it. I like the idea of having a festival. I think it's great. If you could have a festival every week, First I thought, well, down at the pavilion, but no, that's not what your main goal is. Your mission statement is to support your businesses and to bring local people in to help these local businesses. So, I'm just not for it every weekend. I will say that as well. Comment, Mr. Gray?
Weighing options. Would y'all, think about backing down to maybe once a month, twice a month?
If we had to, that was a consideration that we did discuss it. We just kind of wanted to have a really great summer and do it every week, so it wouldn't get confusing to visitors that, because during the summer, the visitors are from Sunday to Sunday. So they're not staying for a month like they are in the off season. And so this will give them something to do every week. Throughout the month, we would make flyers to give them out to all the businesses to stuff in their shopping bags and the restaurant bags and things like that. So they know on Saturday, stay in Carrabelle. Hang out in Carrabelle. We've got stuff to do right downtown in Carrabelle. Live music. You don't have to go to a bar to hang out and listen to live music and bring your kids. So that's why we wanted to do it every week. But if you guys are vehemently against that, we will.
Well, I can
once a
tell
month.
you're excited.
I know I am. We've worked so hard on this and thought about
enthusiastic.
every angle and talked to so many people and businesses, and that's what a lot of these people are here today, because they're either local business owners or work in the area.
But two big angles that I mentioned that you haven't followed up on yet, that I would ask that you go back and let us know what Just Right Marine thinks, and let us know what the Bicycle House thinks, and let us know what the History Museum thinks, because.
Let the public know too.
Yes,
There might be, the majority of people is all for it, it might be majority all against it.
Yeah, I mean,
don't think we need to make that decision.
only the people here that knew about it, see, to me, the.
Well, these were posted, it was posted on our agenda.
But this was this posted on the agenda, this description here?
No.
Okay.
Not that
But what I'm
page.
trying to say, if you'll give me a moment, and I do speak a lot, is that the agenda item that was submitted says discussion and possible action regarding music on Marine Street proposal. That is vague to me. That does not allow, in my opinion, due process for the citizens to know what is going on. The citizens did not know from this agenda item that Marine Street was requesting a road closure of Marine Street from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturdays. The citizens need to know that, because the citizens own that street. The taxpayers own it.
Now,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
page was sent out with the agenda, but
To
it wasn't,
us.
right.
But the citizens didn't know, they don't know the background story on it.
Yeah, I didn't write
And-
the agenda item.
So I did ask who wrote the agenda item, and I got an answer on that. But when we bring this back up, because I'm sure it's going to come back up, we need to have the agenda item needs to be specific so that we can have good due process. So
And
that,
some public input.
yes, that we can have some public input on it. Would you come forward, please? Well, well, that's fine. Come forward and speak at the microphone. Let us know your name, although we know it, but you need, for the record.
Yes, Daleen Siegert, I own the upholstery shop. I didn't know anything about this, so that's not why I wasn't here before that. But I guess my question would be, is it about music? Is it about people shopping? If it's about music, I would have some concern in regards to what kind of music. Because I've been to some of the music around here, and it's very loud, and some of the songs are not appropriate for children walking with their parents. So is this, I guess I'm unclear too, is this a music festival that we want to have every weekend? Or is this a shopping experience? If it's a shopping experience, then what I would suggest is put speakers up on the telephone poles and play great music. Because there's a lot of cities that are doing that, and it's awesome.
That's an idea.
You know, there's 50s and 60s music, things that are controllable, if you will. It doesn't have to be 50s, that's just my
Great idea.
That's just what I like.
That is an idea, and I have been to places like that. Yes,
Or, you know,
it was
it's
enjoyable.
It is very enjoyable shopping like that, and that way you're not having to vet a band. I
Yeah.
don't know what the city.
And worry about the weather.
Yes. Yeah. But as far as the shopping goes, I think that's a great, these downtown shops are awesome. Then they're a lot of fun to go into. I think it would be a headache getting vendors in all the time, but I'm not in charge of anything there. I just have my own little shop that I work out of. But I would suggest checking out what it is the goal. That's been my opinion.
Okay. And then I want to know what is going to happen with, like I say, how is the traffic flow going to work on Avenue B where the History Museum and those little, and Miss Daleen's business as well is there. So this is up for a vote, discussion, and possible action. We don't have to take action. We can make recommendations, or we can make a motion.
Would you guys be more apt to do the once a month and try it out for, say, May, June, July, August?
Now, I like what the lady said about putting some speakers up, playing the music that is appropriate for families. And I believe it do just as good.
Well, we don't have power on all of those.
Well, that's something maybe we can discuss. We got power to those lights for
Yeah.
Christmas. So, something we need to do some more research. Sure.
And I know that they were anxious to start this on Saturday.
Next, not this
Okay.
week.
The next one.
I know you
The
people
13th.
got businesses.
But I would consider a trial basis this summer once a month. Something on a trial basis, and I like the idea of them not having to be obligated to a band every time, but have some music, some nice family music,
Well,
you know.
knowing that families and all ages are going to be there, we would take that into consideration when booking the bands, obviously. Or it's not gonna be like a crazy mosh
Yeah.
pit party in the street. That's not the goal. We want people to have fun and want to come back over and over and draw a
So
crowd.
business to strive, that's no doubt. Closing the road, that's just, I can't
And
imagine.
I've got another one.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Who is going to carry the liability on this project? Because,
Mr. Bo, you raised it.
no.
I believe that normally the city's
He put it down,
liability
yeah.
covers all the festivals and
So
stuff.
because there's no nonprofit.
Right.
And I think that when the chamber, when people sign up, they have to sign an application and a form when they come in to do vending or bands or whatever. And the chamber helps accept liability for that process as well. So I don't know how, this is going to work out, for the city and liability, and if someone has, a problem or issue or something.
Can I say we just table this for further review?
Okay.
I mean, I don't see us doing nothing tonight. That's my opinion.
Even for once a month? It just, the planning takes so long, so if we put it off a whole nother
That
month,
closing that road
that's gonna
is-
be, we're gonna miss out on the summer, basically.
I just can't see closing that road. I mean,
Just
it's-
once a month.
I would say, I don't see anything, because it seems like it's being, assembled quickly, and I know that y'all are excited, and I know that you want to have, more business, I do. But I think that I would go along with the table for another month, and get it together, put it together, let us know what's going to happen with Avenue B, let us know how you're going to manage the traffic for sure, and how you're going to advertise the rerouting for the closing.
Until we have a commissioner out tonight, he
Yes.
could just lock us up if we voted, so.
Yeah, and he could, he may have some
I'm sure.
ideas
Yeah.
as well, And then next month, let's see, June, you might, go ahead and have it planned for mid-June, and in the event that it is approved for once a month, that kind of thing, and just go ahead and really be ready.
Yes.
So you're making that motion to table
I'm
for
making a
further
motion we
table to next
till
month?
Next month, so
Okay.
we can do more research on this.
Okay, and we have that motion by Commissioner Walden, and I'll second that motion. And do we have any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. And Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Okay. And opposed?
I oppose.
Okay. And then that motion does carry. All right? Okay, here we go. And you got that. The opposed was Commissioner Brown and.
I got it.
Okay, all right then. And then old business
Do-
is, yes?
I just wanted to say I appreciate all of you coming. And, I mean, I wasn't sure if anybody else wanted to speak and say anything. But thank you all for being here.
All right, very good. And yes, thank you for coming. We appreciate it. And we appreciate your interest in Carrabelle. Okay, all right. And the last one, old business, under old business, we had an item, but it was removed. So we can adjourn this meeting right now.